From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
And he tells me to stop talking. That's what I do for a living. If you got some inside baseball, congratulations to you. Here we go into another big action-packed day, another big week. A day late and about $1 short. Heck, haven't got an extra $1 maybe. Fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom because it matters the most, covering America first. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, the Turning Point USA halftime show numbers keep growing. It is eye-popping, folks. More than 25 million views as of yesterday. I haven't even checked today. Haven't even looked yet. It's just remarkable. Number two, in Florida, if you cannot pass a driver's exam in English, guess what? You can't get a driver's license. What a concept. Understand our language or don't drive on our roads. It's pretty incredible. And number three, President Trump warning that if we don't pass voter ID requirements, it will be the end of this nation as we know it. I happen to agree. He wrote that on social media. True Social. I agree. Democrats are scared the 2024 election threatened them, and they're reaching for more power by any means necessary. Obviously, as we pointed out many times on this program, illegal immigration is a big one, maybe the biggest of all. The Biden administration made sure to broadcast far and wide that our borders were wide open. Come on in, the water's fine. They encouraged and allowed unprecedented numbers of illegals to flood into this country. It was a clear vision, a plan, a strategy meant to secure the left's power, even if they lost the White House for several reasons they didn't care. One, we know they're fine with illegal migrants voting in our elections. It's why they so strongly oppose voter ID. It's why they've tried to stick the racist label on the SAVE Act, like Senator Chuck Schumer did many times recently. Here's one example.
What do you say to Mike Lee's argument that the Senate rules allow the majority to require the minority to stage a talking filibuster to stop the SAVE Act?
We've got to get this done, and we've got to get it done very quickly. The SAVE Act is an abomination. It's Jim Crow 2.0 across the country. We are going to do everything we can to stop it.
Jim Crow 2.0. Oh, really? Are you kidding me? Not only is that a complete lie, it's also completely out of step with how the American people feel across the board. And even CNN has blown the cover on all of that nonsense, and Democrats are still trying to ignore it. Take a look at these poll numbers. Here they are.
Take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote. So something of a non...
Weird. Anthony even agrees with Nicki Minaj. Well done, Anthony. When 76% of black voters and 82% of Latino voters want voter ID, kind of hard to call it racist, isn't it? But they do it anyway and expect their white, brainwashed, liberal zombie voters to just keep drooling and believe them when they say it over and over again. But even people like Bill Maher say his party is acting foolishly when they compare the SAVE Act to Jim Crow-era laws. Here he is.
And it's also foolish because Biden used that exact phrase about voting in Georgia. And then they did polling after that next election came up, and even the black folks said we had no problem voting. So, you know, like you say, don't engage in the kind of hyperbole that's just going to bite you in the ass.
Big bite. But Bill's party will always rely on emotional outrage over race to garner them votes, knowing that oftentimes it works. That's why it is as important as ever to pass the SAVE Act right now. There's a slim majority for the conservatives right now, but it's very slim. We currently do have a majority in both chambers of Congress and the White House. It's about time they did something with it. The SAVE Act has been passed by the House, but unfortunately, Senate Leader John Thune has yet to bring up the bill for a vote in the Senate because he doesn't want to go up against the dreaded filibuster. Here it is.
The coin in the realm in the Senate is floor time. There's a finite amount of it, and we have a lot of things we have to do. There's a housing bill that's awaiting action, hopefully a market structure bill, possibly permitting reform, farm bill, highway bill. You can go right down the list. Russia sanctions, there are a whole bunch of things that could be teed up for action on the floor of the Senate. And so you have to make some judgments, and the conference will have a conversation about that. I've committed to that we will talk about that idea and determine whether or not what the conference's views are about it and how they want to proceed. As I said, we will vote on the SAVE Act, but exercising or triggering a talking filibuster has ramifications, implications that I think everybody needs to be aware of. So we will have those discussions, but that's obviously ties the floor up for an indefinite amount of time with not only unlimited debate, but also unlimited amendments.
Feckless, spineless weasels. If you ask me, we have exactly two choices. Either end the filibuster or it's the end of America as we know it. No middle ground here because that's what it boils down to. End of the filibuster or end of America. No middle ground. Democrats want to talk a big game about democracy, about the rule of law and the rule of the people. Well, more than 80% of the people want voter ID. We need to make that happen. We must make that happen. The filibuster today doesn't even remotely resemble what it was supposed to be. The traditional talking filibuster required senators to physically hold the floor and keep talking to block a bill, really forcing an effort, public accountability, visible debate. The modern zombie filibuster doesn't require any of that. Senators can quietly signal opposition, triggering a 60-vote requirement, and legislation stalls without anyone talking at all. This blocks laws through procedure, not persuasion. Get out there, defend what you have to say. It also avoids the transparency and the accountability the filibuster was originally meant to demand. But we need more than just voter ID. We need to remove all illegal aliens from our census. And this is a point that I think is not getting the attention that it should. We've been conducting mass deportations, which is good, but those millions of people are still in our census tallies, and that's how political districts and federal resources are determined. For instance, if we look at California alone, if you took just 2.5 million people from its census totals, a very, very conservative estimate of the amount of illegals living in California, they'd lose 2 or 3 seats in Congress and $3 to $5 billion in federal funding every year. I think the real number is more like 7 congressional seats that should be in places like Texas, Tennessee, and Florida. California is stealing political power and money from states that just are getting screwed. And that's just California. I've got so much more to talk about this. Filibuster or America? You choose. I'll be right back. All right, like I said, that's just California. That's just California. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seats in Congress, which means votes in the Electoral College when it comes to presidential elections. And, of course, California with its gerrymandering means there'll only be like 4 Republicans left in Congress from that state. Then throw in New York, New Jersey, Illinois. We've got an entirely different nation, one that's not $30 trillion in debt, one that's more balanced in power if done right. Think about history for a moment. Back in the days of the Three-Fifths Compromise, slave states wanted enslaved people counted in the census, not because they cared about freedom or rights, but because it gave them more political power in Congress and more influence in the Electoral College. Those people couldn't vote, had no rights, and yet they boosted political clout for the slave owners. That's what that was all about. Now look at sanctuary states. They're doing the exact same thing. They want illegal aliens fully counted in the census, which pads their congressional representation and increases federal funding. But those people, just like the slaves during the Three-Fifths Compromise, can't legally vote, don't have legal rights, are not citizens. The state benefits, the population does not. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? They're the Democrats playing the race card again. It's the exact same logic. Use a population for political and financial gain without giving them any real power or responsibility. And we're supposed to just shrug it off and call it compassion. No. This is about representation and money being manipulated. And the American people get left out. They get left out while politicians cash in. History isn't repeating itself. It's just being rebranded. Texas has its fair share of illegal aliens as a border state. And while many in Texas are working toward a healthy nation of legal aliens, Texas State Representative Gene Wu wants to weaponize the presence of illegal aliens like I just talked about. And like so many Democrats, he's not shy about saying it out loud. Here it is.
I always tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning, because we are the majority in this country now. We have the ability to take over this country and to do what is needed for everyone and to make things fair. But the problem is our communities are divided. They're completely divided. And I talk about
So I'm an oppressor. Me, I'm an oppressor. The mask is off. The gloves are off. Like I said, Democrats are going to claw back power any way they see fit, even if that means undermining laws that they passed. That's exactly what's happening in Virginia as we speak. 46% of Virginia voted for Donald Trump in 2024. It has 11 seats in the House of Representatives, 6 represented by Democrats, 5 by Republicans. The Virginia state legislature proposing a map that would make it 10-1, 10 Democrats, 1 Republican. Gerrymandering at its very worst, the most obscene gerrymandering in this country possibly, and it's against what Virginians have voted for time and again. In 2020, Virginia voters voted for a Democrat proposed law that outlawed gerrymandering. It states, quote, a map of districts shall not, when considered on a statewide basis, unduly favor or disfavor any political party, and yet here we are. 99 out of 100 state House districts voted against gerrymandering in 2020, and in 2019, Abigail Spanberger, the new governor there, said that gerrymandering was detrimental to democracy, but she and her Democrat trifecta, they don't care. They're throwing that all out, along with the wishes of the voters of Virginia for an outrageous map that very clearly favors her own party, and they're not hiding why they're doing it at all. They're not even pretending this is a fair representation of the state's electorate. They're framing it as a fight against Donald Trump and Donald Trump only. Listen.
Today we are leveling the playing field. These are not ordinary times, and Virginia will not sit on the sidelines while it happens. We made a promise to level the playing field, and today we're keeping our promise. Our maps are ready. Virginia is ready. We said 10-1, and we meant it. And we are proud to deliver a map that stands up for democracy, to stand up for Virginians, to stand up and give us a voice. He started this mess, and Virginia is going to finish it.
Liar! That's Virginia's state Senate leader, and she's been on a rampage against Donald Trump since he took office. And Governor Spanberger has done nothing to bring down the tension or the temperature, even though she promised to be a moderate. She's a moderate. Yeah, my ass. Instead, Spanberger made sure to sign into law a bill that amended the state's constitution to allow gerrymandering as one of her first acts as governor. That's before she proposed 50 new taxes, of course. Folks, this is the raw truth. Democrats are desperate, twisting laws, borders, and maps to cling to power like a drowning man on a raft. From Biden's open border fiasco to Spanberger's gerrymandering betrayal in Virginia, it's all a calculated siege on our democracy. It doesn't protect democracy, it destroys it. We cannot let the filibuster zombie or census cheats hand them the keys. President Trump is right. Voter ID and the SAVE Act must be passed now. Conservatives have the majority. It's time to use it. Call your senators. Call your members of Congress. Demand action. History's watching. We will fight for fair elections or watch the republic slip away. Which is it going to be? The choice is ours. It's now or never. Which side are you on? This segment proudly sponsored by PureClean's Veterans Initiative, PureVet, where veterans find purpose in property restoration and entrepreneurship. We salute those who have served. 855-PureVet or purevet.com. If you're a veteran or know somebody who is, now's the time to figure it out. It's also the time to figure out how to follow us on YouTube. This community is growing. And in a week's time, we're launching a brand new podcast, Forgotten America, so that people like you have a place where you can be heard. It's right there, by the way. That QR code will take you to YouTube directly. Become a subscriber, become a supporter, and our first guest on the brand new podcast is Kyle Rittenhouse, talking about his experiences after that shooting, where he killed 2 people and shot a third. Says, I never should have been there. I was a kid. I had no business being there. You'll be surprised. But what Kyle Rittenhouse has to say, he went underground for years. He's back. He'll be on Forgotten America when we launch next week. Go to YouTube. Become a subscriber. I'll be back. Here's a little common sense for you. In the state of Florida now, if you cannot pass a driver's test in English, you can't get a driver's license. That is especially critical for those with CDLs, commercial driver's licenses, those driving 18-wheelers across this country. 80,000 tons of pure pleasure. You probably saw it over the past few days. An illegal alien ran into a van full of Amish workers on their way to a work site, being driven there. 4 died. Many more still hospitalized. Because an illegal alien that could not understand the language was driving a missile down one of our highways in Indiana. You saw the horrible scenes out of Florida when an illegal alien from India, this guy was from Kyrgyzstan, by the way, in India, Kyrgyzstan. I bet you can't even find that on a map. Earlier this year, we saw the driver from India pull a U-turn on the interstate, because that's the smart thing. Just pull a U-turn, and that minivan slammed into the semi. They all died. 3, as I recall. Enough, my friends. Enough. So now, Florida. English-only driver's license test. Either you pass or you do not. And if you do not get to operate on the roads of the United States. All right? If your dog's family, let's be honest, they are, you've got to feed them the best. Great Lakes Pet Food, high-quality American-made dog food using premium pork and chicken. Michigan-made, trusted. Same dog food we've been using here for years. Do your dog a favor. Check out GreatLakesPetFood.com. Great Lakes Pet Food, excuse me, .com. Yeah, that's what we use here. Tell me what you think about this whole English only. I'm a big fan, by the way. Yeah, and don't forget, YouTube, become a subscriber. I say it because this is going to explode. The brand new podcast with me and Ivy and the whole team pitching in. It's really good. QR code is there. Become a subscriber on YouTube. You won't miss a minute. The first episode launching on Monday, the 16th of February. Kyle Rittenhouse. I'll be back. Make America healthy again. It starts at home, of course. Eat real food. I mean, the Mike Tyson commercial, if you happen to see it during the Super Bowl, or if you've seen it since, remarkable commercial where he's eating an apple, real, and carrots and whatever else. Real food is what this country needs. Look, we might be the wealthiest country in the world. We're also the fattest. We have the most diabetes, the most acute diseases because of processed food. He said processed food kills. What do you think the military is getting? What do you think the military is getting fed? Yeah, good guess. Zen Honeycutt, founding executive director of Moms Across America, joining me now. Zen, welcome to the program. Glad to have you here.
Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for reporting on this. Thanks to your team.
Well, it's really important. I mean, these are the people that are out there in critical positions defending this nation every day. And so a study of military meals found junk, frankly. Low nutrition, contaminants, highly processed, garbage. And if you put garbage in, you get garbage out. You need real nutrition, real food. We've got more farms and more food and more opportunities to feed our people in a better way than any country in the world. And here we are feeding the military slop, frankly. I mean, I don't mean to be rude, Zen, but I'm not wrong, am I?
It's absolutely disappointing, Steve. I thought we would find better. I thought the phrase military grade might mean higher quality food, less toxic, better sourced, and we were hoping that that information would then lead to better school lunches. We could say, look, our country is doing this, but we have tested school lunches before and fast food, and what the laboratory found was that there were more toxins than nutrients. So we were hoping that the military would be the opposite, and we could say, look, we can do it, but unfortunately the military food, I mean, we know we can do it, but the military food was more toxic. It had 100% heavy metals in it, 95% positive for glyphosate, 70% of the samples were positive for anywhere from 2 to 26 different pesticides. There were 62 pesticides in this military food, and they were 100% of those pesticides are made in China. And they're made, some are made in, yeah, some are made in other countries as well. But I'm very concerned about this. You know, when Bobby Kennedy says if another country was doing to us, you know, putting these things in our food that we're putting in the food, we would be at war with them. Well, it's
as we should be. But so Bobby Kennedy, he declared war on sugar. He declared war on processed food. The commercial from Mike Tyson was brilliant. By the way, they brought him in and gave him a script and said, here, read this. He tried, said, no. Boom, he threw it to the side, and he just started talking. That's how that commercial came to be, because he's speaking from the heart. Here is a guy who was the reigning heavyweight champion on a couple of different occasions, a guy who actually, for his age, has made punches to the head he's taken. Looks pretty darn good, I got to be honest, because he eats real food. It's not that hard, is it? And when it comes to, you said heavy metals, you said glyphosate. How do we get food today that doesn't have, which is Roundup, by the way, if you don't have, how do you get Roundup out of the food? That's just a question that comes to mind for me.
Well, we stopped spraying it, and regenerative organic food doesn't allow glyphosate. You know, organic food does not allow glyphosate on it.
Here's the problem with that. I'm going to be a naysayer. The problem with that, the cost of raising organic food is dramatically higher than using these chemicals. Dramatically higher. So-called sustainable agriculture is dramatically higher, right?
Yeah, the government subsidized GMO food, so that makes the organic food more expensive. If the government was putting the money towards the regenerative organic farmers, the way that they're doing the GMO commodity corn and soy farmers, which, by the way, 80% of the agriculture that we grow in the United States goes to Asia, goes to out and is exported to other countries.
Sub-Saharan Africa primarily, a lot of it. But here's my problem with that, Zen. Let's just throw the cards on the table. There is no such thing as a non-GMO corn growing in America today unless it's in some weed patch somewhere. There is no non-GMO. GMO doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the chemicals they're putting on the food, because GMO corn, wheat, rice, you can't, it's been decades in creation. Texas A&M, The Ohio State, Michigan State, all the land-grant colleges created this stuff over decades. They didn't do it to hurt people. They did it because they thought it would be drought-resistant, which it is, pest-resistant, which it is, but the chemicals are concerning. So there's no way to get away from GMOs. There's not. So what do you do?
80% of the GMOs are engineered to withstand glyphosate, and glyphosate is a carcinogen and endocrine disruptor. It causes sperm damage. It androgenizes baby girls. So if we don't have a plan to get away from GMOs, we don't have a plan to make America healthy again. And we absolutely
can't. Well, there's no way to go back, Jen. I mean, hold on. You can't go backwards in time. All corn is genetically modified. Every single kernel of corn. That's why people like Chipotle came out a couple years ago and said, hey, we're not going to use any GMO corn. And that company, Chipotle, quickly went the other way and said, we can't we can't actually do that.
No, there is organic corn, but we don't have to be growing so much corn, Steve. We're growing corn and soy to feed Asian animals and to make seed oils. We don't need all that. We need real food here in America. And if Trump designated money to transition the farmers to regenerative and organic, thus transitioning and to buy the food for the military and students, preliminary AI research, I'm not saying it's exactly accurate, but it's saying coming up with that less than 2% of the $1.5 trillion budget would transition farmers to regenerative organic to grow real food and to feed our American soldiers and American students American food. So that's what we're calling for. You know, we have contracts where
well, again, you can call for it, and I appreciate your steadfastness to that point. It's not financially possible. It doesn't matter how much money government puts into it. I do not believe it's financially possible to go to all organic, as it's so called, or regenerative farming, or no-till farming. You can't do it.
We used to be 100 years ago. We absolutely were. I would say it's absolutely
100 years ago, we had half the population in this country, too. The numbers don't work. There's the challenge that I face. And I'm not trying to be a naysayer. I agree with you. I don't think we should be feeding these chemicals to people. I don't think we should be feeding it to the military. But it's not like you just say, okay, we're not going to do that, we're going to go do this. It would be decades.
A 5-year transition. It would be a 5-year transition. It would take some time. But think about how a farmer waking up in the morning and he's growing food for Asia versus growing food for our military and our students. I think that the effort to put into that would be worth it. And I think there's a lot of farmers that would be interested in that. We know farmers whose fathers...
I believe that part. I believe there are farmers that would be interested. And yes, America feeds the world. There's no question. Whether it's sub-Saharan Africa or Asia, we feed the world many times more than the population of this country.
Other countries feed the world too, and there doesn't need to be as much soy and corn being grown. Hemp can be grown, which detoxifies the soil, and it also can be a food source, a building material source, a clothing source, a paper source. Hemp has many more uses, which absolutely could be grown and better for the soil. So there's different crops that could be grown. There's more food that wants to be grown. We're dependent on other countries. We import about 60% of our fruit, and they are highly toxic.
That's a different question, though. That's a different question. Because we have priced ourselves out of the markets. Apple growers, blueberry growers, strawberry growers have been priced out of the market because Peru and Mexico and India sell it for a fraction of the cost because they don't have the same guidelines and requirements of the United States. We need to continue this conversation. It's a good one. I don't disagree with your goal. I just don't think that it's something that happens in 5 years, no matter how dedicated we might be. But we're allowed to disagree on that point. I agree with your premise. We need better food and better fruits and vegetables. I'll have to have you back to continue the conversation. Good start, though, Zen. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. It's a big ask. It's a big lift. Does it have to happen? It's a good idea, that's for darn sure. She's not wrong about that. In fact, she's right on the money. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, quick programming note here as we move forward on this. We had a couple people complain that I didn't let the previous guest, Zen, finish a couple of her thoughts, but let me be clear about this. I do my research. I know a lot about GMOs and farming in this country, and you can't come on here and just spew things that are not accurate. The idea that we would have non-GMO corn, wheat, or beans is a pipe dream. It's not true. It's not even possible. Corn's been genetically modified for decades. To suggest that we just switch over in 5 years, yeah, it's nice. It's a nice idea. So's the tooth fairy. It's not going to happen. So, sorry, I'm going to push back when I hear things that are just factually not on the money, all right? So there's that. If you don't like it, well, sorry, but I'm going to tell the truth every single time. And here's the truth. Concussions could be stopped in contact sports. They can be stopped almost completely with an invention from my next guest, Dr. Michael Hutchinson. He invented the NeuroGuard Plus. It's a mouth guard. If you use this mouth guard, it reduces the chance of you getting a concussion or your kid or your grandkid 99% of the time. It's been tested by Michigan State University, Wayne State University in Detroit. They tested this mouth guard, certified the results. It's not just some claim. NeuroGuard Plus works. With me is Dr. Michael Hutchinson from Traverse City, Michigan. He is a dentist up there. Nicest facility in the north, from what I understand. Michael, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Steve.
All right,
I don't do anything bad. I do everything good.
Well, right, because I'll yank your chain. Don't you worry about that. I'll yank your chain. Look, football season's over, so now we go into the 6-month no football season. We get to watch basketball, but basketball players get concussions at a high rate, especially girls basketball. Is one of the things you told me a long time ago, one of the highest results of concussions. I never would have thought that, but it is. But if you use this invention of yours, which has been around for years now, I don't know why everybody doesn't use it, the incident of concussion, which is a brain injury. You know, people laugh it off, oh, you got his bell rung. No, that's a brain injury. And it can have devastating results, even one time. One bad concussion, it can affect you for the rest of your life, right?
Absolutely. And, if you watch the Super Bowl, most of those guys aren't wearing a mouth guard, and that's the key, really. It's not going to help you if you don't wear it. It's more of a fashion statement now. So, fortunately, basketball, they don't have a helmet, so either you wear it or you don't, but it's not required.
Right.
But like you said, really high incident in girls basketball. Women actually have a higher incident, double than men, because their neck structure is not as strong. But even like cheerleading, you wouldn't even think about wearing oral appliance for cheerleading, but they have a high incidence of concussions.
You make a point, though. You watch the NFL, even these old school, mouth guards were invented decades ago that don't do anything except protect your teeth from getting broken, which is fine. Do nothing about concussions. They don't even wear those. They're just flopping on their face mask. You're right. When I was playing football, if the ref saw you with your mouth guard out, it was a penalty. Those days are gone, aren't they?
Well, it's not enforced. It's still a penalty, loss of a timeout. But Detroit's got a guy who wears it in the hole in the top of his helmet.
I've seen it.
That's doing him a lot of good there. So that's the one thing that really in all the years I've had parents tell me. The great thing is, not only the benefits of concussion and strength, but my kid will wear it, and I don't have to argue with him all the time to get him to wear it. And that's the key. You have to position your jaw in the right physiologic jaw position, or you're just going to keep getting concussions at the same rate as we've had for 60 years.
Yeah. So this mouth guard goes on the mandible. It's different. It dissipates energy. So whether you're a basketball player or a football player, or you're just riding your bike and you take a spill, right? Even if you got your helmet on, it still protects your brain. That's the point of this piece of equipment, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you really focus on it and think about it, we don't protect the jaw. We don't even put it in the equation. We don't even think about it. We think about, there was a study that just came out about trying to make a better face mask. The face mask is great. It's the jaw that's not protected. The face mask doesn't protect the jaw in football or any other sport, and that's the key. We have to put that jaw in a position where it won't translate the force of a concussion up to your brain, but sends it off away from the brain.
Yeah. Anyhow, how do people get it? How do people get this? Because this is a game changer. It really is. I've told this story on the show, but one of my brothers had a bad concussion in high school football. He never played much football after. He was on the team. He was a starter. He was a linebacker. He was a monster. Got his bell rung so bad he never really played much after that. And I think that these sorts of concussions can permanently alter people. Him not playing football, probably not a big deal, but it really has impact on people long term. Last word to you.
Absolutely. There was a study that said that you get one concussion, it'll cost you $100,000 throughout the rest of your life of the effects of that brain injury. So you can't really afford to have a brain injury, and we should be doing everything we possibly can. And right now, the jaw is the missing link. So parents out there, get your kids' jaw position in the correct position and keep them from having those G-forces to the brain. And you can go to NeuroGuardPlus.com and get one sent right to your house.
There you go. NeuroGuardPlus.com. Save a little money. Use the promo code Gruber, I believe, right? And get your head in the game. If you got a kid, a grandkid, somebody down the street, or you got a team down there that can't afford the mouth guards, maybe you can buy them a few. Do the right thing. NeuroGuard Plus. Dr. Michael Hutchinson, greatly appreciate you being here, sir. Thank you as always.
Thanks, Steve. Have a good day.
You too. NeuroGuard Plus, developed by that guy, a dentist who understands the physiology. Nobody wants a concussion. You don't. Trust me on this. NeuroGuardPlus.com. I'll be right back. Well, if you love the ice, man, this is the year for you. I follow this every year because I find it interesting. The whole climate change discussion and, death to the world and all this doom and gloom nonsense. Well, the Great Lakes are covered at about 60% of ice now. The long-term average just over 50%. So this winter, well over average at almost 60%. In fact, if you look at Lake Erie, it's been frozen solid for weeks now. Well above average. In fact, all of the lakes are above the long-term average. Now, the average they've only kept for about 50 years, so it's not that big a deal. But out west, I was just in Aspen, Colorado. That's where I was for the last few days. Did some skiing, if you want to call it that. Actually, I did do some skiing. I'm not exactly Olympic ready, but I will be next time. I'll be the oldest Olympian ever, laying right next to Lindsey Vonn in the next bed over. Anyhow, they have no snow out west to speak of. The western states are hurting, which is bad news for the summer. And I'm talking Wyoming, Montana, Utah, Colorado, all of those states, except for California. California apparently in some places getting really good snow. But the headwaters to the Colorado River in real trouble. No snowpack means no water in the summer. They need a couple of big blizzards out there to really turn things around. And maybe more than one. Maybe 3 or 4 blizzards to get that snowpack where it needs to be. Otherwise, the summer rivers. And unfortunately, sadly, the fishing, which is another big part of the tourism. Aspen was pretty quiet, as you can imagine. Not full. It was cool. It's an interesting place to be for a couple of days. It's like hippie town. I like it. Not that I'm a hippie, but the food's great. But they need the water for agriculture, for fishing, for summer tourism, all of it. And if they don't get it, and it's going to be close now, you've got about 2 months to get it figured out. Maybe a big storm in April, too, but it's going to be a bit before they get the water they need there, that's for sure. You've been warned. All right, you've been warned. Let's see. We got a lot more coming up in the next hour, of course, because, well, that's what we do here. Kyle Sweetland will be here. Shadow equity theft. Equity theft. A brief from the Pacific Legal Foundation examines how some states continue to seize home equity through so-called shadow processes, illegally taking your home, and property tax. Some states are doing it. All states should do it. No more property tax in this country. Either you own it or you don't.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, welcome back as we continue fighting for you and for America from the foxhole of freedom. Digging deeper to give you the insight analysis you need and will not get anywhere else. Thank you for stopping in. It's a beautiful Tuesday here. Three big things for this hour. Number one, the pressure on Cuba growing. The government there is warning it will soon run out of jet fuel for commercial airliners. The communist country just about out of options. Number two, the price of beef reaching all-time highs, mostly because of the monopolies on meat packers in this country, some owned by China. But Americans are still buying. In fact, the demand for beef is going up. How long will that go on? And number three, I want to dig into some things that I found. And one of the things, you know, the football, the National Football League, creamed by Turning Point USA. More than 25 million views, 10 million live streaming that halftime show, millions more on social media going back and watching it. Yeah, 25 million people taken away from the NFL fan base. And if you looked at the people, did you see the people? Did you watch the game, Anthony?
First.
All?
Yeah, I watched about half of it.
Did you see any of the clips from the halftime show? The people in the stands were just standing there staring at this whole halftime show. They were not into it, were they?
No.
It's just like, what is it? An entire halftime show in Spanish. The Super Bowl is an American thing. The biggest sports contest of the year. Millions of people tune in, but not for that. They didn't tune in to see some guy speaking Spanish. And by the way, if you translated the lyrics, it wouldn't even be allowed to be broadcast in English.
You know, I also heard real quick, my buddy was telling me that the NFL wants to expand into South America and Canada.
Of course they do.
And so I think part of it also had to do with appealing to that.
Yeah, maybe next year we can have a French halftime show so that Quebec feels included. How about this? How about it's an American thing? Be proud to be an American. Sing in English, bring up people that fly American flags and not flags from all over the world. How about that? Just a thought. That's why Kid Rock and Company did 25 million views and counting, by the way. Yeah, so there you go. Anyhow, having said that, despite the halftime show, what I found interesting this year, you probably saw this too, Anthony, the number of players, winning side, losing side, doesn't matter, saying, come on, I praise God, I praise Jesus Christ, He is my Savior, whatever happens, I've never seen this before. It's like there's a cultural turning, and they're not afraid to say it. And I've got an example here. Listen to this.
God is love. But whenever you see me, it's a reflection of God.
I am a believer, believe in Christ. I believe I'm here to serve others and to serve the Lord. So
I feel like your faith directs your path. He brings so much joy to my life, that I can truly say, I'm happy waking up each and every day.
God's always had a plan that was way bigger and greater than anything that I've ever imagined. So
He died for our sins, you know what I'm saying? So we can live eternal life in heaven.
Jesus is everything to me. He's that unshakable foundation. No matter what happens, football, good, bad, indifferent, I know I always have Jesus to go back to. I know if I ever stray away that He's calling me back. James 1:2-3, consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that testing of your faith produces perseverance. That's something that I really that's been my lock screen ever since I tore my ACL. Christ is King. Jesus is love. He loves you. He loves me.
He's my Lord and Savior. So I mean, everything I get to do is because of Him.
Why not Jesus? You know what I'm saying?
Jesus is always going to love you. He's always going to be there when you need Him. He died for you.
Man, anything possible with Him, As long as you you got him in your life, you keep him first in everything you do, man, you can do anything, man. The sky's the limit.
See, now those guys I support. I didn't watch the halftime show with Dirty Rabbit or whatever his name was. What was his name?
That was good. That was fun.
Dirty Rabbit, yeah.
That's good.
Okay, Dirty Rabbit. Didn't watch it, didn't care. I had another. I was going to play this other clip. I didn't have it for today, where they went around and asked all those NFL players, a bunch of them at the Super Bowl, hey, can you name a Dirty Rabbit song or Big Bunny or whatever his name was? Not one. Couldn't even name a song. So this is a halftime show for the Super Bowl. These are all 20-somethings for the most part, some in their 30s, but most of these young folks, right? These guys playing football are in their 20s. This guy's supposed to be the biggest thing in the world. Can you name a song? No, man, never heard of him. That's what most of them said, we never even heard of him. So there you go. And I don't know what their point was, but there it is. All right, next scandal, right? Next scandal. How about this Epstein thing? Bill Gates, oof. All sorts of people high up in government in Germany, France, the United Kingdom, of course, the royal family, resigning, being relieved of their job. These Epstein files are devastating. Devastating. But not to Donald Trump. That's what the Democrats, Trump's name's in there. Obviously not for anything particularly serious or interesting, but all these other people around the world. In fact, Ro Khanna, left-wing Democrat in Congress, thinks the Epstein scandal could bring down the entire British government and the monarchy. Real trouble here. Listen to what he said.
Next week.
Mr. Khanna, a British question, if I may. What do you say to the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, and to Peter Mandelson, with regard to giving evidence to your committee?
Mandelson may bring down the whole government, from what I hear. He just engaged in terrible behavior. I mean, the allegations are very serious that he was working for Gordon Brown and then feeding information about UK possibly buying euros and having Epstein trade on that. I mean, it is a deeply, deeply troubling. And, Epstein's, I saw this interview with Epstein's former girlfriend talking about how someone is a loser if they weren't mentioned in the Epstein files. It's a window into the elite impunity, this club. And by the way, I think this is the most vulnerable the British monarchy has ever been. I mean, I heard they were asking the Queen questions about the Epstein class. They ought to ask the King and Queen questions, and maybe this will be the end of the monarchy.
The end of the monarchy. Well, that doesn't bother me much. I don't much care. I don't much care about that, but it'd be an odd way for the monarchy to find its demise. Would be at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein, right? Good Lord. But it's there, and everybody, Donald Trump. Sorry, Democrats. If there were a smoking gun to Donald Trump in any way. In fact, there's a brand new report from ABC News that it was Donald Trump feeding information to investigators to bring down Jeffrey Epstein. Just broke today. I'll have that for you in the next hour. They wanted it so badly, but it just wasn't there. But they'd lie about it and still do. I'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Do you ever really own anything? You know, my father used to say, you never really own anything, because if you think you own your house, go ahead and don't pay the taxes for a couple of years and see if you still own it. The fact is, you would not. The government would come in and take it from you, which is why property taxes have been so contentious in recent years, right? Very contentious, to say the least. My next guest, though, says there are other ways that the government is doing the shadow equity theft. Kyle Sweetland is joining me from the Pacific Legal Foundation. And I appreciate you being here, Kyle. This has become a contentious conversation. The government will come in, and we've seen cases where the amount of tax or fees or whatever are a few $100s. And they come in and they seize a property, and then they fire sale it. You know, they just get it doesn't matter. They sell it for half of what it's worth. They pay out the tax. And oftentimes the families that own that property don't even get a nickel in return. It really is criminal. You're the strategic research manager at the Pacific Legal Foundation. But the shadow home equity theft, explain it in detail so people clearly understand.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. But the Supreme Court ruled in 2023 with Tyler versus Hennepin County that home equity theft is unconstitutional, right? That if you're going to take somebody's home and sell it at auction, that you need to return anything above what's owed on the home to the property owner. So some states have been complying with this, but they've created a process that's so difficult for property owners to navigate, with incredibly tight deadlines, difficult forms just to file, that property owners end up not being able to successfully navigate the process to claim anything on their property. And so the government ends up keeping that, just like it did under the home equity theft scheme. But it's called shadow equity theft because they have a process in place. It just doesn't work as well as it should.
Well, let's be honest about this, Kyle. If you're selling your house, you're working with a realtor probably, or maybe you're selling it on your own. Either way, you're trying to get the best money you can out of the house. When a government agency comes along, they don't care. They put it on auction. Do they advertise the auction well? Who knows? They put it on a couple of government websites. But if there's an auction, the house sells. It still doesn't sell for what it's worth, I'm going to guess, most often. And so the homeowner is being shafted. Now, they may owe taxes. They may have something that's backed up, whatever it might be, but they're getting shafted. This is why I've become a big proponent of no property tax. I applaud states like Florida, Georgia moving to reduce property tax dramatically over the next few years, and other states are following suit. No property tax, because look, if you spend your whole